And hopefully we are live. I will be looking
Good.
down to see it on my phone, and then we'll see. Hope, 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 hope. Oh well, it will show up eventually when Facebook notices that something is happening. Hello, Susanna, and welcome on my page this time. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Um, Well, it's we have Kitty in the background and we have a separate Zoom line for the Hungarians. You may find it in the anyone, well, they won't understand the English, so let me just say it in Hungarian for a second. Szóval sziasztok, üdvít mindenkinek nálam. A vendégem ma este Susanna Mittermaier, és van nekünk egy gyönyörűséges László Kittink, aki magyar hangon vár benneteket a háttérben, úgyhogy a Zoom linket azt majd mindjárt gyorsan itt meg is osztom valahonnan nektek, vagy pedig megtaláljátok az eseményben. Úgyhogy én most kivételesen angolul fogok beszélni, ilyen is ritkán van, és van, aki engem tolmácsol. So I just added that after a long time, finally I get to speak all in English and not translating, and this is super cool.
Easy.
So it's a weird time of the year, and it's a weird time being on planet Earth. And I was just actually going through your book during my holiday, and there was this section about the happiness being only a choice. And when I just went on Facebook today, I saw this post talking about inflation, recession, depression, life is so crappy and it's awful and blah, and we're gonna die. And that was one thing. And the second thing, when it comes to praise, it's the Olympic Games. Like, I don't know how the news hit outside of Hungary, but basically the opening ceremony just got so many criticisms about being so crazy and different and all that. And I figured that let's just talk about being happy when everything seems to go nuts.
Yes. Yes. I like that because it's interesting how this energy is so up in people's worlds as though that is the only reality. Like everything you said about, the stress about money, the stress about the future, like the polarization of whatever, everything is this or this, and it's just a lot of crazy stuff. And a lot of people buy this as this is what is now, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
only option. And I would like to invite everyone watching this to question that. Because how can this be the only reality? Since when are you believing everything you read and everything you hear? And since when are you allowing someone else to tell you what is right and wrong and good and bad? And I know that, like, most of you are probably listening with Hungarian translation. And I know that Hungarians were never people in history who just took things for what they are. They were always, I know from history that they always have been fighting for what else is possible. Like Hungarians are not people who just like settle for, oh yeah, okay, I'm just gonna follow whatever is. But you guys have always been revolutionizing for something different. So how much is that in your world, in your blood? And what if you access that again, especially now? And for everyone else who's not Hungarian, who's watching this, what if this is also part of you, where you remember in your whole life, like until now, whenever someone told you, this is what you have to believe, this is what is, and nothing else is possible, how often did you go, like my middle finger is itching right now when you say this. I want to show you my middle finger, which is an appropriate reaction. It's an appropriate thing to do, because no one else should tell you what is right and wrong and what reality is. You should find out for you what your reality is and what is true for you. And that's where we can, create a different world again. and it's not too late. That's not true. We still have the capacity to, as always, create our lives and create our futures. We just have to remember. We just have to remember that we still have that capacity, and to access that fire within us, the the paprika, the fire, you know what I mean? I don't know how do you say this in English? The thing you spice things up.
Yeah.
And it's still like, what if you access that fire in you where you go, this is not what I'm settling for. What else is possible? And you don't have to have an answer to that question. Just ask every day, what else is possible beyond this? And just let that question do its thing, because that's how it works. Every time you ask a question that is about changing your perspective from, this is the only way it is, to something bigger, where you look for what else, like, how else can I look at this? What else is possible? Every time you ask a question, that question already does its job. You don't have to work so hard. It's already doing its thing, and going into your world and around and trying to show you, hey, look here, there's a way where you can have more ease with money, or look here, there's a way where you can have more ease with this and this person. But you have to start asking, and you have to start looking from a different perspective than 99.999% of the population worldwide right now. So it's really that time where we are being adults and just going and being leaders, and not just going, oh my God, everything is horrible, and going into the victim role, but stepping up and going, okay, this is not the world I'd like to see. So what can I do? What can I choose to lead all of this to a different direction?
There are just so many things that you brought up, basically, and I think I'm going backwards. Questions and questioning everything seems to be such a simple tool to do so. On the other hand, it can be freaking difficult when you are just so focused on the situation you are in. And even I know myself that getting to a space where actually the question has a proper quote unquote energy to it. It's not just like, okay, what else is possible, but actually, what the fuck else is possible? So when you're not on repetition, when it's not like that autopilot, when you have the presence, getting to that presence when you're in a survival mode or problem solution mode or what, that can be a challenging. You have any suggestion for that?
Yes, it is. In those moments where you are in the middle of crazy stuff, first thing is notice it. Notice, like, because when you're in the middle, you probably in the beginning not notice that you're in the middle of crazy stuff, because it seems so real, and you're just in the middle of it, and you let yourself like swim with it, and you don't even notice that you're part of it. But as soon as you notice, that's the first step. Like, notice, okay, I'm in the middle of crazy stuff. Okay, stop, time out. Like, this is where you go, time out. And then what I do, and what I suggest people doing, is look at it like from the outside, and say to that energy, say to that crazy stuff, you don't get me. Like, you do not, I'm not yours. You do not get me. And this is where, like, this crazy stuff, this like you can imagine like this being some kind of animal that tries to suck you in, and you just say to that animal or to that monster, whatever, like, you don't get me. Like, not happening. I'm not your bitch. Not this time, not today, not happening. And this is, notice, like, this is already putting you in a place of power and potency and empowering, where you just where you make a different choice, where you make a totally different choice of, okay, this is not getting me today, this monster. What else can I choose here? And just that shift of perspective is already like giving you a different place to look at. And then you can look at, okay, what is actually true for me? And this is where we have to remember, what's light is true, what's heavy is a lie, and just like, in that moment go, what choice can I make right now that would make things lighter? It could be listening to a music that you love. It could be, taking off your shoes and walking in the grass. It could be talking to a friend, whatever it is, that puts you in that light space again. But this is what we have to do over and over and over and over and over again right now. It's like again and again and again. And it's getting easier, but it's just a little bit of work right now to get out of that and get into that space that is true for you.
It's interesting. I usually tell my people or whoever I meet or talk about it that yes, kind of like stop the algorithm of craziness. And my go-to tool is start dancing in the kitchen while you're cooking or doing the dishes or do whatever. It's just the craziest disco dance or whatever, music or whatever. And that usually does the trick. On the other hand, and just because the world is so crazy and so are we, at least me, you may not be. Um, so you have the mind masturbation going on a certain challenge problem. Should it be, I don't know, work, money, relationship, you name health, body, whatever, you name it. You get a breath of fresh air by changing and shifting the energy. But my husband's still a jerk. The bill still has to be paid. My boss is whoever. So it's still there.
Yeah,
So
but it's
it's
not
like,
it's not about changing those outside things, and having okay, the world is only pretty when everything around me is pink,
mhm,
and everyone is happy and everyone sings kumbaya. It's like that's not like how this works. Maybe in another lifetime, whatever, but right now, like that's not where we are. It's not about changing someone else and having everything be pretty. And that's the point of view that most people have. It's they think that I can only be happy and I can only make money again like I used to when the world is a happier place. So now I have to wait until the world is a happier place before I can make money again and have people in my classes or whatever create again. And that's just like that insane point of view, because where are you putting yourself in that conversation? Definitely not in the driver's seat. So what if it's not about that waiting for others to be less crazy,
mhm,
but the different perspective of like, yeah, how different can I be with me choosing, and not like me choosing something different, but I don't like we don't have a clue what that is and how it looks like, but it's just taking it moment by moment. Right now, this energy tries to take me over. No, not happening. Mama's in the house. Okay. What else can I choose? Okay, some more lightness. But from that space, things are already changing. You're
mhm.
changing and you're dominating with your space. And things around you and people around you, they will have a hard time holding on to their stuff because of what you choose. So simple as it is, and definitely something we get to practice over and over and over again.
Exactly. And that's when you have, again, quote unquote, this is my favorite signing, quote unquote, because I kind of like, so many times I try to say something which doesn't really belong to me, but I experience it, I see it and all that, and it's like us in general. So this is when we get the statement that you have pink glasses. You don't see what's going on really. You are too optimistic. How can you be so happy when all the world is blah? It's like, okay, is it really my glass is really always half full instead of half
Yeah.
empty?
Yeah, but I know that because when people say something like this, what is the usual go-to position? Doubt,
Yeah.
like, but whenever someone says something, whatever it is, and your way of handling or your way of being with this is doubt, then look at what is the agenda of that person. What are they trying to do with what they say, or what are they trying to achieve with what they're saying? And when someone tries to make you doubt yourself, that's not someone you want to listen to. So whenever you go, oh, maybe I should be more serious, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're right, then that's doubt. And doubt is always a distraction from what is true for you and what you know. And this is where you go, again, that monster, not listening to it. Thanks for sharing. And you're not getting me. I know what's true for me. Like, whenever, because you know what's true for you, because it enlivens you, it opens up your world, and then okay, that is true for me. I will go there even if other people don't get it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Gary always said that, what would you still choose yourself even if nobody follows? It's
Yeah.
not a precise quote. And for so long, I actually thought that means I would be like Don Quixote, fighting on my own against the windmills and the world. And I will be like a soul, lonely and whatever. And I figured that no, that's actually not the case. Yes, I may be losing people who can no longer connect to me, but there are just so many amazing creatures joining who
Mm-hmm.
has kind of like the similar vision, way of thinking, or rather way of being and all that. And just the other day, I spent a whole week by Lake Balaton here in Hungary with like a summer camp with Audrey, with a few very conscious ladies. Um, and I said, you know what, this is what I want to be, being in a beautiful place, space, nature, nurturing conversation, amazing people who wants to actually create something. It should not, it maybe it's not extraordinary, maybe it's just little bits and pieces in their lives, but they are just moving forward. And yes, I want to live a life like this. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm living that life. Do I actually acknowledge that I'm here in this moment with those people in a beautiful environment? I am living that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am not a lonely fighter, actually. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Thank you for that. That's such a great acknowledgement. And I mean, for all of you listening to this, it's like, look at your day, look at your past days. I mean, how many awesome moments have you had? How much, like, is your life really so horrible? How many amazing moments do you actually have that are awesome? And why do you assume that the future will not be like that or better? You know,
exactly.
like, and it's the same with money. It's like, there's not less money on the planet right now. It didn't vanish in a black hole somewhere. It's not gone. It's just like people holding on to it more. They're not spending it as much because of a point of view that they have. But what can you be for things to move again worldwide? What living can you choose for things to move again worldwide?
Mm.
It's a choice.
It's so interesting because money and creation and choices. And I think this is what I wanted to actually bring up, that I've been journaling for ages. I have just right there on the bookshelf, years worth of books and all that, with my little pretty handwriting and all that. And I was looking at it the other day, that what I was asking for back then and what am I actually asking for now? And even that changes. How many times are we still stuck with past asks and past, I don't know, it's not like ways of living, though we changed a lot. And maybe we do not require that much or that bit, just something completely different. We just never really acknowledge the change either.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are you asking for now? I mean, how many asks do you and wishes do you all have from when you were a child that you're still holding on to? And what is actually relevant to you right now that you could ask for, that you really, really would like to have in your life? Not that you should have in your life because it looks good and because everybody else has it, a wonderful car. Maybe you don't care about a car. Maybe you care about your bicycle and you're super happy with it. Why would you buy a car when you're happy with a bicycle, you know? But what is it that you really, really desire? What makes
Mhm.
you happy, you uniquely? And that's something what that is so on the buffet right now, where we don't orientate for what other people find amazing, but hey, what creates that living energy for you?
Exactly. For me, that's again a bit of the craziness of the words, that's kind of like hoarding everything together and getting as much stuff as possible and as big and expensive as labeled as blah. While is it something I really would like to have or desire in my life? Maybe not. And it also led to an interesting conversation with the ladies this week, that how many times do we actually still kind of like lie to ourselves with regards to this one? That I want that. And when I was asking that, do you really? And they were like laughing that, maybe not. And how many times do we say that we have to be just so vulnerable with ourselves, but then we can catch ourselves actually not really telling the truth
Mm.
somewhere?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
interesting.
Great adventure to
Super
find out.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how does, because I have to bring it up, we've been talking about personalities for quite a few weeks now, and I'm really interested in from a psychology point of view. In Hungarian, there are these different terms, and personality itself is kind of like a psychology term. And then some people said that it's more like roles. Some others said that is the ego. That what are your views on that?
Well, I mean, that's not only in Hungary. In Hungary, it's there is this point of view that we have a personality, you know, and this is supposed to be who we are. But that if you look at it and you define yourself as something or someone and describe your personality, or someone else describes you in whatever way they see you, that's a very stagnated thing. You know, it's a very limited thing where you can have some personality traits. You know, some people say you have 5, some people say you have 12. I mean, there's so many different theories depending on the person. And that's still very limited, because all the billion people on the planet and everybody's supposed to have only 5 or 12 personality traits. Maybe we're more diverse than that. Maybe we're more complex than that. And so if you that's like the common point of view, but the invitation here is to go beyond that, having one personality or having a couple of personalities, because people have a lot of personalities. You know, when you're with your family, you have one personality. When you are in your job, you probably show up as a different person, and so on. But all of that is like, what if none of that is really who you are? What if this is what you have created and manufactured to be able to deal with the world, to deal with people, to get by, to be understood, to be liked? And so, what if who you are is something so much bigger than any personality, anything that you can describe, anything you can define? And that's the adventure of finding out, like, what else am I? How else can I show up beyond any, this is who I am, da, 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 and this is who I am? It's like all of that has such a, like a very solid energy to it, but the being you are is so much bigger. And it's like, you see this with animals, with nature, like trees, animals. They don't have like, this is me, I am tree with the name so and so, and this is how I show up. They're like, they're being, you know it. And with your being, you're very flexible. You're very flexible in how you handle people and how you show up and how you know, deal with your world. You have, you know, yeah, you have so much more movement available, and possibilities to receive and have new ideas. Because if you're one person, how can you have new ideas show up in your head if you've already decided something? But if you're more of the being you are, you can, like, ideas of what else is possible for you to create, so much easier can they come into your world.
That's so interesting as you say it. I'm coming from the corporate environment, and we had, the disc analysis, and I'm the typical extrovert, emotional, yellow. And that was my label. Audrey is yellow. And I hated it because then everybody just related it. Oh, you're just yellow. You're just
Mhm.
this and that. And it also showed that my very analytic, rational blue is just a tiny little bit. Well, they should be seeing my Excel tables with the financials and incomes. And I said, I'm bluer than hell. So it's like, okay, maybe I'm not that yellow. In that particular moment, I was when I actually filled out the test. But give me a test now and tomorrow and in an
That was
hour.
a yellow
Yeah.
moment, and then you sit in front of your Excel spreads, you have a blue moment, you know. It's like, and you everything. And but it's so limiting to go, I'm yellow, so I cannot do Excel spreadsheets and I cannot do calculations because that's not who I am. Well, how limiting is that point of view?
Yeah.
Mm.
Huh. And how many limited points of views we have. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's just okay. That's interesting. So, most of the peeps know already because I spread the word and you spread the word, and we've been spreading the word that there is a class coming up very soon next week. Next week in a week. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
The 3-day pragmatic
Practitioner.
practitioner class. Yeah, so that's so many P's. I'm not that blue enough to remember all the P's. So, can you just share a little bit about the class, just
Yeah.
in case somebody doesn't know?
Well, all the conversation we just had, which is about shifting from what you think it is to what things actually can be. So shifting and facilitating your world from, oh my God, I worry about money and it's so stressy, to wait a second. Wow, where are the possibilities and the light, like shifting from that contracted to the lightness and the ease and the joy and the glory, being that leader and choosing different than other people. Like that's a way of facilitating, and facilitating means making things easier. It comes from a Latin word. So like this is about learning and using tools, learning tools on how to make that shift in every moment, in every area of your life, you know, whether it's your body, your money, your business, your relationship, where you shift from, oh my God, it's stressy, I'm angsty, to, wow, I can see possibilities now, you know, like the light is turned on, and doing this in every moment, in every area of your life, and facilitating yourself from heavy to light, and also learning how to do this in your work with other people, like learning how to facilitate other people from contracted to possibilities. And whether, like, whoever those people are, maybe you want to use this for your kids, maybe you want to use this, maybe you're a teacher and you want to use this on your students, or maybe you are a therapist or a coach and you want to use it on your clients, or maybe you want to start becoming a coach and a therapist, you know, or something that works with people, and you want to learn, how can I do this in a pragmatic way? And pragmatic means doing what works. And this whole life form is called pragmatic psychology, and it's been around for 15 years now worldwide. You know, I've written a couple of books, and this is a new approach on how to create change. I used to be a normal therapist, a psychologist and a therapist, and I did a lot of different psychotherapy, and I always wanted something different. I always looked for something that works, not something that makes people wrong and then is looking for a solution, which is basically validating the problem. But you instead go for, you know, how do I shift from a problem to a possibility? And in a way that's empowering, in a way that's, you know, looking at the individual that's in front of you and using everything they've gone through and all their weirdness and everything that they have judged and others have judged as a jumping board, as a resource to look at, wow, how can they use this to their advantage to create their lives, and so much more. So this is where you learn more about this. How can I facilitate any topic, any person, including myself? And it's very exciting because the people who have done these classes There's a whole movement, worldwide movement now, and the people are called pragmatic practitioners. And we have people around the world who are pragmatic practitioners, who are offering that work in their field, with corporates, with businesses, with schools, with individual clients. And we have a web page where you can find people who are doing this work in the different countries. So if people go, I want to find someone who works with pragmatic psychology, they can go to the web page and find. So you can start that different education that's called Pragmatic Practitioner. And you can also become a pragmatic practitioner that uses this around the world. And this is an education I've always been looking for when I was working as a psychologist and therapist, and I couldn't find it, so I created it. And it's amazing what people do who are working with this, because they're all using their uniqueness, their being in their work, which is not normal. Because if you do normal coaching and therapy, most of the modalities, they have, this is the way you do it, and there's not much inclusion of you and who you are. You're supposed to even step back in who you are and just like be that role of a therapist. But if you use yourself and your unique perspective and your experience, you can get so much further and you can be so much more vulnerable. So it's a different approach. It's a different way of working. It makes people happy. It's fun to work that way, and it works. I got a lot of people who sent me their clients who said, I don't know what to do with this person. Colleagues who said, can you take over? Because it seems like a hopeless case. And it turns out it wasn't a hopeless case. So it's very, you can do a lot of amazing work with this approach. So we're going to have this class next week. It's 3 days, called Pragmatic Practitioner. You can either come to Austria, to Attersee, which is a beautiful lake, and do the class live, or you can do it online from your home as you wish. We will have Hungarian translation, we will have German translation, and I don't know what other languages we have for this class. And you can ask your questions in your language, whatever you feel comfortable with. And that's it. Yep, looking forward.
Oh, me too. So I thank you for your time. It opened actually, it opened up the space for me as well again. So it doesn't really matter if the world is crazy when we can have our little happy moments and we can count them and eventually figure out that no matter how crazy the world is, we can still be happy. And come enjoy the class. It's going to be fun and crazy.
Yes.
Well, good night. Thank you again. Thank you, Kitty, on the back end. Nagyon szépen köszönöm, hogy itt voltál.
And thank you.
Thank you again. See you later on.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Almost.